will help us wherever we are. And the first one is attitude, because that's something that we have control over, and it makes a huge difference. We'll talk about that first. The second one is incremental or gradual improvements, taking small steps in the right direction is a big winner. And the third is what I call the yoga of the tongue, because the Shastras say something amazing about yoga and our spiritual practice and how it all begins with what we do with our tongue. And there's great information about that in the Shastra that will amaze and astound you, or your money back from this seminar today. In the Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada writes in the preface that advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. I'll say, please repeat. Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower.
Depends on the attitude of the follower.
Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower.
Depends on the attitude of the follower.
Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower.
Depends on the attitude of the follower.
Now I have a question for any individual to answer. On what is the advancement of our Krishna consciousness dependent? Yes, in the front row. She said our attitude. Anybody have a different answer? Because if so, get out of here. So this is an astounding statement, and I find when looking through Prabhupada's books, when reading them, that there are statements throughout that if taken seriously can bolster one's spiritual life, actually can be the central focus for one's spiritual life and take and through which we can change the rest of our activities in life. We all need somewhere to focus. We need a clear goal. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada says that for lack of a clear goal in life, one begins to feel morose and despondent. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam it said, Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam pati Shrotavya kirtitavyasya dheya pujas nityada. It establishes in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, it means the sages who are speaking. Sutta Goswami says that the goal of life is to attain love for Krishna. And he gives some very beautiful verses about that. And therefore then he says, Tasmad ekena manasa. Therefore, you must focus your mind. Therefore, with one-pointed attention on the activities of hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. And this one-pointedness Krishna brings out in the Bhagavad Gita as being very important. He says, Bahushakahyanantascha buddhayo vyavisainam, that those who don't have a clear goal, whose minds aren't focused on the goal, become distracted. In fact, he uses this poetic image that your intelligence becomes many-branched, and you're thinking about so many different ideas for success in life. But isn't it a relief to know that there's an authorized place to give all your energy, to put your full attention? It's nice to do this. It's a relief, because there's a kind of harassment that comes from the senses and the mind that offers us too many alternatives. I always get confused. I don't go shopping anymore, because when I go to buy something, I look and I see, how many choices do you have to have for toothpaste or for any other product, soap and so forth? It's very confusing. There's so many different choices to make. So similarly in life. But those are on the path of Bhakti Yoga and have one-pointed attention. And here is one of the ways that we can adjust our attention, and this is through changing our attitude. So first of all, here's a definition of attitude that will give us some clear idea of what it is. A subtle way of thinking or feeling about someone or something, typically reflected in the behavior. So it's subtle, right? And it's a way of thinking or feeling about something or someone, and it's reflected in our behavior. So as we adjust our attitude, so we will adjust our behavior. Do you all agree with that? According to the definition, it's algebraic, right? If I adjust my attitude, then my behavior will also adjust accordingly. What do you think? Are you buying that? Yes? 3 people, okay. Yes or yes? Yes! Oh, all right. Okay, so here are some of the ways that the acharyas and the scripture recommend that we adjust our attitude, or how we hone our attitude. So, the first is that I am a servant of Krishna. Everyone please say that. I am a servant of Krishna. See, that solves all problems. Because first of all, Krishna owns everything. Isavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magrada kasiswadhanam. Everything animate or inanimate within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for oneself, which are set aside as one's quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. First of all, everything belongs to Krishna, and Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says himself that he is the Lord of all sacrifice. That means everything's meant to be done for him, and when it is, then we feel satisfied. And he's the controller of everything, and he's also the best friend. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in the bhajan that we sang yesterday, Jiv Krishna Das E Bishwas Korle to Artu Konai. That if you just accept this one point, I'm a servant of Krishna, and you focus on this, then all your duk, your misery, will go away from life. This word duk refers to the axle on a wheel. And when the axle's out of alignment, then the wheel will vibrate and the whole vehicle will vibrate. Do you ever feel like your life has a lot of vibration unnecessarily in it? Or is it just me? The way to adjust it is through adjusting one's attitude and accepting this point, embracing this point, that I'm a servant of Krishna. Everyone say it again. When any trouble comes to your mind, when you're facing a daunting circumstance, or even just a pesky one, you can say this and be relieved. Try it again. Now, servants are welcome wherever they go in the world. And those who want to be masters face a lot of competition, because everybody wants to be a master, and wherever we go, when I hold this, and remember, attitude is something subtle. We heard that in the definition. Whenever I go somewhere and I enter into a social circumstance and I think, I'm going to master this. I want to be the center of this society, whatever it is, this assembly, then I'll be competing against others who may be thinking in the same way. But if I enter and I think, how can I serve? That attitude is practically palpable, isn't it? When someone comes with a service attitude, in fact, even during this festival, I've had, my wife came up to me a couple of times, did you notice such and such? What a service attitude. You can see how it affects their behavior, because we just heard how adjusting your attitude adjusts your behavior. You behave differently when you have this service attitude. You're ready to spring. You're looking for service opportunities when you have a service attitude. Everywhere you look, you're thinking, how can I serve? Do you think people will want you around if you have that kind of mood? Yes. So, thinking I am a servant and seeing everything through service eyes. I saw a little video a while back. I think it was made in the 1960s, and it was a man pulling out from his driveway, and there was a kid going behind him on a skateboard, and the man became exasperated, and practically under his breath he was cursing, "Why does that kid always go behind me?" Then he drove and he stopped at a coffee shop, and somebody went in the door before him, and he became angry at the person. Then he got to the counter and somebody else cut him off, and he became angry at that person. And he was going through the whole day with various circumstances where he was feeling angry with people. And then this mysterious person walked up to him with a pair of glasses and opens the case. And in the glasses it says service. And he puts on the glasses, and now he sees everything through service eyes. And he starts noticing that all the people who had just offended him have something going on in their life where they're not feeling whole, where they need some help, where they need somebody to reach out to them. One of the people that was rude to him is actually fighting an addiction. Somebody else had their spouse just left them. The kid who goes behind him on the skateboard, behind his car with a skateboard, was suffering at home because he was being neglected. And now with the service glasses on everywhere he goes, he's seeing how there's an opportunity to reach out to people, to do something for them. For devotees, this is augmented because there's a way in which we have a way of looking at the world that opens our eyes to service everywhere we go. How might that be true? How might it be true for devotees seeing service in opportunities wherever they go? Let's just have a few comments about that. Where are the places that you see service? Just pretend that we handed out a pair of those glasses when you came and they were on your seat, and you have them on now, and you're looking at the world through these service glasses, and everywhere you look you're seeing an opportunity for service. Where do you see it? Okay.
Peter Burwash was giving the example yesterday where he purposely left a scrap piece of paper on the floor just to see if anyone was going to pick it up, and he was going to give a prize to someone, and everyone just walked right by it. So the service is right there in front of our nose, but we don't always have our service glasses on.
Did you walk by the piece of paper?
I didn't even see it.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Mita.
Old age home for people who need help.
Okay. Thank you. Some devotees are working on that, trying to see if they can help devotees as they're aging and so forth.
There's always seems to be service to do in the kitchen. So devotees are...
That is the abode of service, isn't it? In fact, it's said that Hare Krishna is a kitchen religion. And any time of the day or night you go in the kitchen if you want service, and just go hang around, and somebody will say, "Oh, you can do this, you can do some service." Yes?
On the topic of old people, I'll just turn it around and say young people. Like college students are pretty receptive to the message.
Okay. So there's a way in which through spreading Krishna's message, wherever we go, there's people who are very receptive, and we can always look for an opportunity to give people Krishna consciousness. So just the one way to change our attitude and actually feel happy. When we have the service attitude, we'll feel happy. And when I'm thinking about why isn't everything conforming to my plan, then I feel unhappy and I feel frustrated. It's inevitable. Yogeshvara Prabhu was telling us a story, or at least he told me a story anyway, about how when he had finished translating, he and his wife, a book into French, one of Prabhupada's books, and he took it to Prabhupada and showed it to him. I believe it was in New York. And Prabhupada said, "Oh, you're the head man for this project?" And Yogeshwar said, "Prabhupada, I'm the last man." And Prabhupada smiled, and he really appreciated the attitude. He said, "You're the head man?" He said, "I'm the last man, Prabhupada." And he really meant it. He said it with such feeling. And immediately Prabhupada acknowledged it and said, yes, this is the mood of the devotees. Selfless service. And in fact, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami says that only by selfless service to the Supreme will you feel any satisfaction at all. And Prahlad Maharaj says in his instructions to his schoolmates that the moment you begin thinking about sense gratification, not even trying for it, just thinking about it, that's when you start suffering. As soon as I start making a plan to enjoy, to be happy myself, that's when I start suffering. Isn't that profound? Have you ever experienced that? One person said, you want to tell us about it? He said all the time, give him the microphone, just can tell us any of your realization about that. It's nice that you said all the time. It's a kind of an attitude that I have that the world should conform to my desires and I should get what I want.
One thing though, Mike, and then he shines the spotlight on too. You really are turning it on.
What do you mean?
I get a mic first, and then he shines the spotlight on me too. So very simple example, or sometimes, or initially when I used to go to the temple, right? I'm going to the temple. I go on the road and I try to get there quickly. Right? Instead of thinking I'm going to the temple, I want to go to service. I say, okay, let me get there quickly. I started late. I want to reach before Aarti starts. That's when I start, okay, if I drive fast or I try to cut through, it's like chaos everywhere. You start seeing chaos everywhere. Just a small mindset change that, okay, I'm going to the temple. I need to get there, that's it. And I don't think about I should go there at this time, I should go quickly, or I should make up for whatever deficiencies I had in starting late. I was okay. So it's a very simple thing, but I think everything that we do in our life, it's just a small adjustment and it makes a big difference.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a sound engineer in here to fix that squeaking noise, please? Because we may have a riot after about 10 minutes. It may drive us nuts. But we'll be saved by service attitude, perhaps. One of the very beautiful aspects of Krishna consciousness that comes under the category of I am a servant is that I'm a follower. Generally in materialistic civilization, and especially in American civilization, there's the idea that I should be the leader. But there's a lot said about being a follower in the process of Krishna consciousness. And if one follows the great souls, says the Shastra, then one is guaranteed of success. Should I prove that? Do you demand proof? Please demand proof. You're not a very demanding group. Only the front row is demanding of proof. Could I get some demands from the back row? Prove it. In the middle, could you say prove it? Okay, but a little more enthusiasm when asked for prove it, Vaisesika Das. What are you talking about? Okay, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, 25th verse, this statement by Sutta Goswami will prove it through Shastra. Bejare munayo tagre bhagavantam adhoksajam sattvam vishuram shemaya kalpante yenu taniha. This means that previously the great souls worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, because of his being beyond the three modes of material nature. And they did this in order to attain the highest benefit in life. In other words, the highest benefit in life is attained by worshipping. Could you say it loudly, please? Okay, and the best part comes at the end. It says, Kalpante yenu taniha, anu taniha. Anu means to follow. He said, anyone who follows these sages is eligible for the same result that they got. So what it means is, you don't have to be a great soul yourself and have an exalted birth, have great stature in life. But if you follow sincerely those who do have it, then kalpante yenu taniha, you're eligible for the exact same result. Is that a good deal? It's fantastic. It's fan-freaking-tastic. So if you follow the great souls, then you're eligible for the same result. And this is part of the service attitude, that I'm a follower. I follow. And I become the servant's servant, servant, servant. And this is a statement that Prabhupada made that really impressed me. And that is that one should become the servant of the servant. And then he said, you should become the servant's servant, servant, servant 1,000,000 times removed. That is liberation. That's what he said. So what are the 2 points so far? 2 main points? Attitude is everything. Some people say this attitude is everything. And your attitude will determine your altitude. You adjust your attitude, and everything else in your life will be adjusted as well. So the next aspect of attitude is, I take full responsibility for whatever I have and whatever situation I'm in now. I take full responsibility that whatever I have, whatever situation I'm in now, I've created it. How does that sit with you? Nirkula. She said, for the record, it's empowering. Anything else? That's enough. It's empowering. Gora?
It prevents you from participating in the blame game. It prevents you from becoming a victim. Because as long as you take ownership for your situation, and as Nirkula just said, you've empowered yourself. But if you say, no, it's that person, it's those circumstances, then that means you'll always remain stuck in that situation, because it means you can't really make any difference. It's those people that did it to you, it's those circumstances that did it to you. But if you say, no, somehow or other, I've created this situation for myself, and I can recreate a situation. I can decreate that. I can change that.
Thank you, Gora. Right over here.
Yes, I was just going to say that when you eliminate the blame game, you actually simplify your life.
Great.
By taking accountability.
Oh, thank you very much. It simplifies, it empowers. Yes?
I would say that it's liberating. It goes along with you both. You don't, it's not up to other people where you're at. And it's liberating because you're not depending on other people to make your life something
beautiful
that you want it to be.
That's one of the wonderful things about this attitude adjustment is, of course, there's an old saying, you don't see the world the way it is, you see the world the way you are. And there's a way in which at any time we can decide to change our attitude. And the best way to change our attitude is based on the direction of the scripture. So we're given these admonitions. One is, consider yourself a servant of Krishna. That's something that I can adjust. When my mind goes off and thinks I'm the enjoyer, why aren't things going my way, I can think, I'm the servant. I'll just serve.